go and get it and split it with my kinfolk daily. And I'm the type of that might change my number on you.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another Thirsty Smurfing Thursday. Boy, oh boy, do we have a show for you today. Occasionally from time to time, we'll hop on here. We'll just answer questions. Of course, we'll do, a show where we'll cover the news and, talk about some, the wonderful world of 2023 politics and everything that does to get everyone excited about waking up and tackling the next day. And then sometimes we actually bring people on who are legitimately good people, right? And it's rare that we're able to do this because, we got a few degenerates that sit up here and talk. And so when we do have the opportunity, it is actually special for us to be able to do that. And if for those of you that don't know, our guest today is big on the what do we call it? Turf Twitter.
X.
We'll call it Turf Twitter, right? Turf X. And he is known for accidentally creating a meme product called RGS. And that was completely unbeknownst to Greene County. He had no idea who Greene County was, and kind of vice versa. And then it was one of those things where it was like, oh Lord have mercy, what have I done? And so anyway, it was funny to all of us that saw it, right? And we were sharing it all back and forth, and like, that is so funny because he probably has no idea what's going on. And of course have kept in contact. I don't think anybody has missed me wearing my WUKA hat, especially if you're in Louisville. And what this stands for is wake up, kick ass. And again, another ism from our guest of honor tonight. So Ray, Ryan, boys, get ready because we have Paul GreensPro Hurst on tonight. Sir, how the hell are you doing?
How's it going, fellas?
Good.
Happy to be here. This should be interesting.
I think it will be. I know it will be. It will be. So, Paul, just a little background where you're at, as much geography as you want to do on the age, sex, location feature, and what got you here? Where have you been, and what are you doing sitting right here talking to us?
Right. So, right here in the heartland, St. Louis, Missouri. I guess I'll start just with the turf aspect. I think like most people, I started working at a golf course in college and then fell in love with it. Changed my major, went to the University of Missouri, who's going to be playing Georgia this weekend.
Go Vols.
Yeah. We'll see. Between the hedges, we're going to see what happens. Yeah. So. Yeah. So, golf course industry was a assistant superintendent for 6 years here in St. Louis, and then 10 years as a superintendent. And when I was 37 years old, I'm 53 now.
Damn.
Went to work for a company up in Michigan called Turfgrass. And worked 3 years. Yeah. Worked 3 years in sales with them. And then 3 years after that, they merged with a company called Residex. Which was from the East Coast, a big bed bug company. Yeah. And at that point in time, we rolled the dice, a couple other guys, and started GreensPro in 2000. So we're working on 13 years here, being an independent distributor of turf products here in Missouri, Illinois, Kansas, Northwest Arkansas, Paducah, Kentucky, Indiana. And we are a branded distributor, and we deal in pesticides, fungicides, insecticides, herbicides, grass seed, fertilizer, 90% golf, I'd say 5% lawn care, and then 5% universities, park districts. So we are the kind of the Ace Hardware, your locally owned grocery store, your locally owned Ace Hardware, competing with giants like Helena, SiteOne, Harrell's, Simplot. So it's quite a challenge, but I would respectfully, tactfully, humbly say we're the best distributor in the Midwest.
Paul, let me talk to you about that. And everything I hear right now on the distributor side of things is that it is tough. Talk to me about, when I guess give me a little rundown, like over the last 10 years to the last 5 years, to the last 2 years. What has that trend been like on your side of the aisle?
I've been really fortunate with GreensPro, and I think that's primarily because it's a relationship business. I have four other men that I'm in business with that have been in the business for, one guy's 63, one guy's 60. I got another partner that's my age, and then another partner that's younger. But we have some very talented, hardworking individuals on the staff at GreensPro, along with incredible service, personalized billing. We don't charge late fees. We don't charge restocking fees. We don't charge credit card fees. We don't have delivery fees. We've built a business based on relationships. We've built a business based on knowledge. And I still think service, no matter where you're at, what business you're running, I still think people appreciate service. And there is not one employee or owner of GreensPro that will be out serviced. And we've built a business on that, and it's been really successful.
That is awesome because look, as we have watched I'll call it and I'm using this term loosely, the monopolization of distributors. It is, I would say, of course, everyone finds a rep that they like, and they kind of latch to or whatever. But then you'll get some bounce around between different companies or whatever, and that always makes things difficult, right? Phone numbers are always changing, manners of contacts are always changing, and then it's like, shit, what do I do? Or they just up and move to a new region, right? And I'm like, sorry, I don't cover your territory anymore, and that's tough. And I'll say that at least when I was an applicator, that was one of the things that I ran into all the time. I'm in Knoxville, mid market, right? This isn't your average distributor rep is going to struggle to maintain a $1 million book of business here, right? And so there was, in the big companies, you would see that turnover happen, every year, sometimes every 2 years, and so you felt like you had. And I'll say, I am the worst to please, like the worst. 99% of people that I bought material from were like, shit, Matt is coming again. He's probably in a bad mood and he's going to yell at me about something. I kid. I never yelled at anyone, but I was the kind of person, I was so particular about what I wanted, right? And I approached it that way, and I have to manage costs as well too. And it's not that I'm going to beat anybody up over a price, but if I have the choice between, buying, Prodiamine 65 WDG and Barricade, I'm going to go for Prodiamine. And so when I ask for generic Prodiamine, and everybody's concerned about their hitting their quota on a BASF product or a Syngenta product or whatever it is to maintain that distributor relationship, then it becomes a problem, right? It's like, because look, dude, I'm in lawn care. Right. I have a $300,000 business in lawn care. I would love to buy a Barricade. I can't afford it. So work with me here on this. It's like, oh, man, that's all I got right now. And it's like, okay, well then I'm going somewhere else, right? And it was always difficult in that sense. And I would be very particular and very vocal about that. Or if I wanted, for example, I remember it's funny, I'm kind of telling on myself here. I will not say the company this guy worked for, because it is not a reflection of the company. It was this individual rep. I had wanted Monument to spray out ryegrass, and went to him and said, nope, but you can use Katana or something else. And I'm like, no, I love the residual of Monument, and if I time it just right, I typically don't have to spray sedges the rest of the season. I'd really prefer to have Monument. And then got into an argument with me that Monument doesn't even control ryegrass, and I said, okay, left it at that. Went and bought Monument, sprayed the football field, and he actually had brought another customer by to come look at the ryegrass, and I had sprayed it like 3 weeks before with Monument, and it was roasted, and they had been out for drinks, and I'm actually at the property, I'm actually directing sand loads that are going to be dropped off, and so I'm just hanging out, and I see him walking up. Oh, hey, he's got a guy with him, and they get closer, and you can smell the bourbon 30 on the breath, and I mean, he was hot. He's just real hot. And then I'll be damned if we didn't almost get into a fist fight at the 50-yard line of a high school football field. and the athletic director had to kick him off the property. And I don't know why he trusted me in that situation, but he did. And he ended up kicking the rep off the property. But again, it's like those things that, I think everyone here probably has a horror story too with it. And when you the first time the people that I ended up developing a real relationship with was the small local person who I could actually talk to and have a conversation with, and not, have to worry about, do I need to, a week before my scheduled meeting with them, do I need to be in the gym lifting weights just in case, a jujitsu match breaks out? And it's, and again, it's local business, it's small business. You get to meet the people that have the actual skin in the game. I'm kind of going on a love fest here. We're all small business owners here. I highly recommend anyone listening right now, fucking, put your money where your mouth is to support small businesses. Do it. Damn it. Sorry. Okay,
I like it.
Went on a tangent there.
You need like a gavel to smack or something. So here's one. I had several questions I thought about leading up to this one, because I think despite the the videos and everything like that, and I don't mean that in a negative way, I just mean that I see a person who's genuine. I see a person that doesn't take himself too seriously, and I see a person that is passionate about this industry, and I would think genuinely just wants to help people, and I think those are typically the best people at sales. I mean, it could be whatever, right? But sales is the vehicle that you use to connect with people, right? From a professional standpoint. So I guess my question to start is, from a customer side, what are some tips that you would give to, it doesn't matter if it's golf, sports, turf, lawn care, I don't care what vertical we're in, but just to be better customers of not just maybe, as a distributor as a whole, but particularly an independent distributor. What are some things that they could do better to help you serve them better?
I talk to guys a lot about not setting me up to fail. There are so many products out there. There's so many SKUs of fertilizer. There's so many herbicides, fungicides, insecticides. And I always tell guys, we're not like the grocery store where I have every cereal that's available. But if you give me time, and there's a specific product that you like, a specific product that makes you comfortable, that a customer requests, a prepared customer, one that's thinking about not tomorrow's application, but maybe an application in 3 weeks. Maybe he's not thinking about pre-emergent, but he's looking at a summer fertilizer. Maybe he's thinking about seeding, fall seeding in the spring. Edgy customer that allows me to make a proper delivery, get him things on time, makes business so much easier. It makes me look good to the customer, and it also it helps the end user out as well. So I would definitely say a prepared customer makes it easier.
So it's all about timing.
Go ahead, Ray.
Right? It's all about timing then, because I know for me, I tend to know most of the time when I need something. So that's something that resonates with me, because when I know I need something, the time that I know I need it is literally weeks, if not months ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, I never drop this thing on people where I need it now. I mean, because I learned not to do that. And true story, I was once in a fungicide crunch, Ryan, if you could believe.
Wouldn't doubt it on the island, Ray.
Yeah, I was in a fungicide crunch, and because I wasn't prepared, or and kind of got caught with my pants down, I had to call around, and fortunately for me, somebody was able to supply what I needed.
And I think that goes back to Paul's point, though, of having somebody that you can trust, that in those moments, right? People that make it a habit, you clearly pick up on those folks, pretty early on, of the ones that are calling you right when they need it every single time, that aren't thinking ahead, right? And you can sort of plan
Yeah.
for that. That phone number pops up. It's like, okay, hey, I could get pissed about this, or I could just look at this as an opportunity to help somebody out, whatever. But
Agreed.
yeah. But the folks that do think about it and that do put that time in and prepare, I guess that's one thing I wanted to ask about too, Paul, is what do you see? How do you see? Because there is, especially in golf. Golf is an interesting place right now because there's a lot of young people. There's a lot of older people in people that are my age, right, in that 40s demographic. There's a lot of people that left. There's a little bit of a gap in the demos there. So how are you finding that shift from how the older generation is kind of keeping up with the times and learning stuff and getting their information on which products to buy versus the newer generation? What are the differences and the similarities you see out of that?
I definitely would think that the older guys my age, north of 50, we're going to have a seismic shift of retirement here in the St. Louis area in the next 5 years. Those guys are certainly reliant on a agent like myself to keep them updated on products. I do a monthly newsletter where I try to break down new products in a not selling type of way. But I also found that the younger generation, if they've trained under a kind of an older superintendent, a wise superintendent, that their buying habits oftentimes emulate the guy they learn from. You'll have a guy that buys from two guys. You have a guy that buys from four guys. You have a guy that just buys from one guy. And I feel I try to be relatable with the younger guys. The number of text messages I send these days it far outweighs the number of phone calls. I think no matter old or young, the biggest thing I try to do, and I know this is probably frowned upon, but I'm available 24 hours a day. Christmas morning, Thanksgiving at 2:00 on Thursday. If you need that's the only way that I can succeed and I can compete against large companies. The guy that turns their phone off at 3:00, that's my favorite type of competitor because I'll answer during dinner. So, and I don't say that being cocky or arrogant. I just think in a service-based business, that is literally all I have. I cannot match the price on fertilizer of Site 1. I can't match the price on seed. It's impossible. But what I can do is provide some knowledge, some experience, and the faith that you're going to be treated well, the faith that I'm going to be honest with you, the faith that I'm going to treat you right. And I think the most important thing, and I try to do this all the time, I have a standing rule. Anytime I get an order over $5,000, I handwrite a thank you card. And I am truly grateful for people that trust me with their money, truly grateful for people that trust me with their time, and truly grateful for those that just trust me.
No, I got
to interject real quick. Not just the testicular fortitude that takes, but the rock solid psychology that takes, right? Because look, I can tell you right now, my phone ringing at 7:00, 8:00, 9:00 at night will ramp my anxiety to 9,000, right? Now imagine, and this goes back to my lawn care days, right? And I think about like when Brown Patch showed up, and I'm halfway through my preventative Brown Patch app, and it showed up faster than I forecasted it. And now I've got 150 lawns that have Brown Patch in it, and all of them are calling me simultaneously, right? And it's, again, the way you approach that, ball is incredibly commendable. And I think that's something the younger guys need to hear, that in a service-based business, like, you got to keep your shit together if you want to be a differentiator, right? It sucks. It's hard. There ain't nothing fun about that. There's nothing fun sitting down at dinner with your kids and you got to answer the phone. But it is, if you want to be a differentiator, the difference maker between you and the next guy that you're trying to get another, 10% on or whatever, right? And it's not fun. No one is having fun when they're fighting over 2.5% margins on a bag of 3204, right? Especially when Site One all of a sudden can do it below cost. And nobody knows how that's possible. And it's obvious they're taking a loss on it, It's like, how am I going to be the differentiator? Well, you know what? I'll answer the phone right here. And that, man, kudos to you for the psychological tenacity that takes in and of itself to be able to do that.
That is, Matt, that is something that is just, I don't know. I call that how business was done, because even for myself, people know that they can reach me. I'll answer the phone, but the caveat to that is that I'm also no nonsense. So therefore, I can answer the phone and be assured that this is not trivial. This is important. And that is the differentiator, because what I'm going to say about that is that it's all about establishing certain boundaries, certain rules, and developing a level of trust.
Well, I think the other thing there too is that, two things. One, from your homeboy up the road in Omaha, Warren Buffett, I think his quote ties in nicely here. Price is what you pay, value is what you get, right? And I think that's the mainstay of any small business, especially. But
Right.
in a day and age where the site is always on, oh well, hey, what are we paying? What's our cost per acre? What's our cost per day of control? Yeah, that's good. We can sit there and talk about that all day long in agency, but who's going to be the person, right, that goes back to the shop, goes back to the distributorship, opens up the door at 10 p.m. on a Friday night so you can pick it up, so you can spray Saturday morning, or picks it up at 5 o'clock in the morning so that it's there at 5:30 so you can spray on Saturday morning. And I think that's the thing that the younger generation, needs to make sure that they realize. Because I think in this, I've seen this, at least from my perspective, is sometimes that's lost on people. They're just like, oh, they're supposed to do that, or that's what's supposed to happen. And in a day and age where they go on Amazon, and think about this isn't me getting critical of millennials or Gen Z or anything like that. It's just I think one of those
Don't get
learning
me started.
pieces. No. I think it's just a learning piece of, like,
I'm teasing.
you have to see that. And sometimes I think nowadays that point that was understood and maybe picked up on by, guys between Matt's age and up to my age and Paul's age and Ray's age, you picked up on that on your own. And now I think it just has to be a little bit more crucial. But the thing I would say too is that, and this goes out to, all the folks that are listening, and I think Paul hopefully would agree with this, but anybody that you do business with, especially if you're a lawn care operator, a small business, anything like that, even a golf course, there's the people think of golf courses, they think of top 100 golf courses. There's 17-ish thousand golf courses, maybe in the 16s now.
Right.
And all of them ain't top 100. There's only 100 that are the top 100. There's a lot in between that are scraping by and doing the best they can. And with that in mind, right, I always ask those folks, being in a service-based business myself too, where all we have to sell, we don't have products to sell. We sell ourselves, we sell our services, our knowledge, our expertise, all that, and that's it. Is that, am I getting the best from this person that I'm doing business with? It's on the other side of the table for me.
Right.
And if you go to the big boys, and I'm not going to sit here and knock them, but is your experience with them consistently good? Is it consistently their best that they can give to you? I would venture to say in many cases the answer is no. So I think that's another point that, and you see it, it's pretty funny because in classical sales training, there's two sides of the coin. People buy from people they trust, and then you'll have a whole other contingent that said, oh, that's BS. That's not true. People buy on value. They do this, they do that. And I don't know, I guess, how do you think, has that changed at all in your time? I mean, this is 13 years in. You said from the top, this is a relationship business. It's you're selling to people, and people have to trust you. Has that changed at all? Again, with like just the way that the industry's gone this last 13 or so years, or is it still the same as it was back when you started GreensPro?
I've been really fortunate. It stayed pretty consistent. You had mentioned agency, and I know there's often a little bit of a discussion over post patent product versus branded product.
Sure.
One of the things that agency really that you maybe haven't thought about is that it allows independent distributors like GreensPro to exist because the price is the same whether you buy it from GreensPro or whether you go to the drive-thru at Taco Bell, which puts me on a level playing field with huge companies and corporations. And I'm not arguing the fact that they have the opportunity to make money and provide for their families as well. But it allows small distributors to compete, at least on the agency level, to get product. Another interesting part of the agency, and this goes back to has the business stayed the same, the St. Louis market, the Midwest market, we're really only treating 3 acres of high intense turf. So really most golf courses have 3 acres of bent grass. And the message of, do you want the Honey Nut Cheerios or do you want the Tostios? And I think that Honey Nut Cheerios branded message works because we have a smaller acreage that we're treating intensively. And I always say sometimes, you can get coffee at Phillips 66 or you can get coffee at Starbucks. And I think there's a difference. So anyway.
No, and that's not to go ahead, Nat.
No, you go ahead.
All I was going to say
Seriously.
is that, yeah, I think that that's something that there should be more education on, because I think that at the distributor level, most times, right, you have somebody that you trust that you're buying from, like yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would trust that, hey, whatever Paul's telling me is good, right? It's good as gold. He's not going to push me in a direction that he wouldn't do himself, right? If it was him, if the roles were reversed. And I think that a lot of times, especially, and I'm thinking of this, both from golf, because I came from golf. Now I'm a sports turf, and I hear and experience a lot of the lawn care stuff through this vehicle here, is that it's just not explained well enough, because a lot of times that mouthpiece is typically, the agency themselves, right? It's the big the big companies that are saying that. So I think to hear it from somebody like you who's saying, yeah, like, is this a place where you really want to short your program? And the answer is no. Right? Or to a lawn care operator, it's like, okay, hey, let's say you have a Celiprin, you go that route, it fails. Guess what? They're going to come back and they're going to say, here's some Meridian, go ahead and clean it up. We're sorry. There's a difference there, right? In terms of the backing and everything like that. So I don't want people to think too, and if it came across that way from me, I'm sorry, but I agree that, like, agency is not like, it's not David versus Goliath or good versus evil or anything like that. There are absolutely products that work, right? And we'll get to that here in a second. But go ahead, Matt. You chime in.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ray, are you, if you're dealing with Dollar Spot, are you going to spray, Zemplar, or are you going to grab propiconazole and go make an application and just hope for the best on that?
Oh no! I mean, you see, Paul, I deal with something that's kind of high stakes. Literally, in that, what if I told you average value of the turf area that I'm dealing with will shock you.
Right.
Probably on par with the
surprise
greens.
you. Yeah.
Sod's not cheap in Hawaii, Paul.
Yeah. So we're talking about, like, I've had literally people tell me, hey, I just had my sod installed and it costed me $50,000. And for goodness sake, they're only on a 10,000 square foot lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So to answer Matt's question, I might not be grabbing for the cheap propiconazole 14.3 because I know, sorry, I do use a certain amount of agency products. Lexicon figures large, and so does Exteris, for example, because those products work, and they work every time.
Just like
so, that's a good question.
I want to go back a little bit. Your transition from being a practitioner to going into sales, moving up to Michigan and doing that. What was that like? What was the impetus there? And was it what you thought it was going to be? Was it more difficult? Was it easier? What was that transition? What was that, first, couple of those 3 years that you spent with turfgrass like?
Right. So it's really an interesting story. So I was at a club in Belleville, Illinois, St. Clair Country Club, 1911. Beautiful design. Bob Golby was a member there. He won the 68 Masters. Jerry and Jay Haas were there. Jimmy Connors was there. Frank Connors was there. But really great club. Very family orientated. Treated myself, my wife, and my 3 children like members, like family. I had done it for 10 years, and much like things I've done in my life, I try to take some risks, to do some things different, to improve myself, to challenge myself. And an opportunity came up to work for Turfgrass. And the 3 guys that helped me get onto Turfgrass had told me that their main goal was at that point in time to eventually start their own local distribution company in St. Louis. And I would tell you that is 100% the only reason that I left the golf course, was because I knew I'd have some skin in the game of possible ownership. It's a very difficult proposition for a young man at a golf course, a young lady at a golf course, to come in and compete with salesmen, saleswomen that have been around for a long time. And when I was asked to come to Turfgrass, I did inherit a fairly good sized book of business that allowed me to kind of vault and jump from there. But there were a bunch of factors that into that decision. I was able to leave St. Clair on my own terms, which was nice. And I also knew that the opportunity to own a business was the primary reason that I left the golf course.
It's a fire that so burns.
It burns every day. It is. And I think that the greatest part about it is no different than what I'm seeing out of you guys. There is no problem getting up in the morning and getting after it and making it happen. And I think skin in the game is the greatest motivator. One of my regrets is I didn't. My kids did well in college, but I wish I'd have made them take 20% skin in the game or something like that. But I think that putting your own money, your own time into a business, it just makes it it makes it taste so much sweeter when it's successful.
It's like gambling, but not gambling, right? I do not gamble. I
dice
don't.
are
I
in the
hate
air
casinos.
for a really,
They freak
really
me
long
out.
time.
But it's all it's high risk, high reward, right? And it's the level of risk you're willing to take on is your potential reward increases, but so does the loss, right? And fast money can mean it can evaporate just as quickly as it piles into your pocket. So trying to find the balance and sanity amongst all of that is there's magic to it, right? And there's a lot of ups, and there are exponentially more downs that you have to kind of navigate on, trying to figure out, okay, I made that mistake. Let's make sure I don't ever make that mistake again. And then somehow you end up making the same mistake, but in a sideways fashion. And you're like, I was guarding this way so astutely that I didn't even notice that I had a blind spot right here that I left myself open to. So it is the adrenaline rush, perhaps, is what's so addicting about it. I don't know, but it's hard for me not to call it an addiction, right? Because I very much have a very addictive personality. That's why I don't do drugs anymore. Because it is such an all encompassing, all consuming kind of gig, right? And I had to learn again the hard way, in my late 20s, right? Like bringing it home, and how to turn off the stress of the day when I'm not in the office, right? And when I get home, be pleasant around my family, enjoy that time I have, and understand and be able to create that link of in my head that what I do every day, I'm doing it for them, right? And I'm doing it because I want to give them what I feel like they deserve, which is the world, right? And so, I can't take a painful moment from the day and bring it home and share that with them for a week. I may go through that during the day or while I'm navigating work issues or whatever, but that's not their burden to carry. That's my cross. I'll wear it proudly and give them the respect that they deserve. Also for just giving me the trust and wherewithal to take this kind of risk with their future as well, too, right? It's
Right.
difficult, but it's very addicting. And I feel like as age comes on, that the maturity begins to increase a bit, and what you're good at and what you're not good at, more importantly, and it becomes more refined and easier to avoid the most painful moments, right?
So, you talked about that period of being young
Mhm.
and going that route and having skin in the game, everything like that. For the folks that are younger now, and I think this is I don't know, it seems like it's a steeper learning curve, a tougher proposition because you're not walking into a book of business. But I see a lot of younger people or people that are new to sales, coming from industry, coming from being practitioners, whether it's in lawn care, sports, golf, whatever.
Mm.
What would your advice be to those folks that are coming in basically fresh? Hey, you've got a runway of, 18 months, 36 months, something like that to build your book of business out. And you're starting from zero. Maybe you get a few accounts that are dormant, haven't been touched in a while. What would your advice
Right.
be to somebody on how to do it? I mean, you kind of covered a little bit on the service side, but just, if you had a strategy, a go-to-market strategy, what would it be? Take me to
Right.
the Paul Hurst Sales Academy right
Wake up, kick ass.
Yeah.
now.
Well, yeah. There's a lot of obviously, you inherently have to be a hustler if you're in sales. I mean, you have to be a hustler. You have to. I would say the first thing I would do is get involved with your local association. If that means getting on a board, writing a newsletter, just get involved as much as possible. Uh, find that sweet spot to a customer or prospective customer where you're on the border of being not annoying, but saying, "Hey, listen, if the guy you're currently using respect, I respect the fact that you're loyal to your current supplier. But if there's ever an opportunity where a ball is dropped, if there's ever opportunity with a brand that your current supplier, uh, doesn't carry, keep me in mind." Um, and I think really the most important piece of advice I would give any young person looking into sales is making sure there is opportunity. I would not advise a young salesman to come into the St. Louis market and attempt to compete with the likes of companies like GreensPro, because no matter how hard you can try, you got to recognize there's several guys in the market that have been doing this for 25, 30 years that literally my business
Good
partners,
point.
Mark Slaughter, Rich Carlson, our CFO who operates the business. I would tell you right now that there are no better sales professionals in the United States of America as good as a couple of my business partners. And the guy that runs our business does everything, and he's amazing. So I guess the biggest piece of advice to look at is just make sure there's opportunity. Uh, maybe revisit that opportunity when you're hearing a guy like, 10 years from now, a guy, I say this humbly, a guy like myself is going to shut it down. Or maybe, I tried hiring a guy to drive a truck for us. I was going to pay him 75 grand a year. And I said, "Hey, you hang out for 5 years. We're going to have some people retiring here at GreensPro. And trust me, it's going to be a great opportunity." And it was difficult to get people to buy in that they were going to have to sacrifice 3 to 5 years before they were going to get what they wanted. Um, but I think biggest advice is make sure that the company hiring you is transparent about opportunity, and then make sure you are educated about who you're going to be competing with. No different than you three in your businesses. Sure, you could try to out hustle you, but if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man, and sometimes that's not really easy.
No, and
If you think
that's
about
the
it from a lawn care perspective, this is
Yeah.
actually like things people need when people are doing market research, where to open their next branch. You know, Marietta, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, chances are you're not going to open a successful lawn care branch there. I don't care who you are. The place is so locked down, saturated to holy hell. If you move in, okay, you pick up 50 clients, each one you're making $350 on. Great. You got a $20,000 a year business, and you're going to hold it that way for a long time, right? And then you feel defeated, and the world falls apart on you, and then you think, well, sales isn't for me, or I'm not good enough at this, and then you go through all the existential crises that you do, right? And a lot of those pitfalls can be avoided by being wise about a market that you're choosing, or who you're learning from off straight from the get-go, right? And like that was one of my biggest things was learning that as a business owner, I am a shit business owner, right? I can't do the business side and the technical side. Just can't do it, right? And that's why now in my business, I have a business partner who actually does the business things. So when I'm chasing the shiny balls, you can be like, no, that's insane. Stop doing that. Redirect your focus and go, run like a boar this direction, right? And having the wherewithal to recognize that, good on you for calling that out.
Well, and has that helped you, Paul? Like having business partners, and especially people that you knew long before you trusted. Like, how's that helped over these years?
Absolutely.
Keep you focused.
There is a huge difference. I think it's funny that sometimes I say I run a business. I don't run a business. I have a guy who is fucking amazing at running a business, and he allows me to do what I do well. And I think that's why GreensPro functions. It's not always high fives and touchdowns. There's issues, but I think if you know your role and you know your strength, and you follow through and work through that strength, that's where the success comes. And there's a huge difference between working at a business, being an owner of a business, but running the business. And Jeff Baxter, he's our CFO. I mentioned this before. I would tell you right now, there is no more competent individual in this world than he has been running the business. And obviously we see that through the most important thing, which are the 4 distributions throughout the year. And, Jeff has done a great job, and the sales guys, the delivery guys have done a good job as well. So knowing those roles, staying in your lane is critical, I think, to be successful.
That's the thing, is build a team around you and trust those people.
Correct.
And I think that's one thing, especially for our audience, which skews a lot more towards the lawn care operators. And there is like this big parallel path. And I think Matt sort of hinted at it, is that, you have guys that start off solo from zero, from scratch, right? Just like that, that young rep that we just talked about. And, having skin in the game, having people that are alongside you that can do and focus on what they're good at, so you can focus on what you're good at. That's kind of the crux, right? Is that people are too maybe a little bit short on some of that stuff, right? Some of those mentors or people that are either within the business or outside the business. So it's just good to hear that perspective of somebody that's done that and gone that route for a long time, of people that are staying in their lane. And that's not to be like an ass or a dick, like, oh, you need to stay in your lane, but
No.
like, hey, you're great at this. Do more of that. I'm going to do what I do so that you can do more of this and focus less on, like Matt chasing shiny balls around. So,
Exactly.
and it's all good. All right, products. Let's talk products. And I don't mean this isn't to talk shit or anything like that. The point here that I wanted to start with was, okay, 13 years in, you came from being a practitioner, right? The first thing I want to ask is, has the way or the methods that you use to evaluate products, and whether you think that they're good, whether you think they work, whatever, has that changed from the time that you were a practitioner to now, where you're a sales rep, you're consulting people on sales, things like that? Has that evolved, changed, whatever?
Yeah.
Or is it the same?
No, it's, my first 5 years in, when I came from the golf course, I was spraying Daconil Ultrex. I was familiar that, Ronstar, the wettable powder, the dust shot up in your face. I knew not to overlap Scott's Crab and Goose. I was familiar
Pro
that if you
tips.
didn't properly water in Cascade, you'd get some burn. I knew that Bensamec was dangerous if you didn't hand water it in with a hose. I knew that Gary's Green, I really liked the reaction that I got. So it was really cool my first 5 years when I was selling, because obviously I was selling what I was most comfortable with. And yeah, the last 10 years, with a lot of these changes, with a lot of these rates that are unbelievably low, newer products, combo products, I have to rely on the guys that I trust the most that use these products to get their feedback. And then, of course, my only option at that point is to relay to the guy down the street that, hey, Jeff at XYZ Country Clubs had really, really good luck with, this new product. And they have to trust that I'm basing my recommendations on efficacy and not based on how much money I'm going to make off the product. So yes, that's been hard. I definitely miss, really I get to see, how dusty, when I put pre-emerge in my yard, anymore. So yeah, that's been a big change. That's a really good question.
No, I just think about that evolution and how you go from one side to the other and things like that. So it's always interesting from the mindset shifts that people go through. And it's like you look back and say, okay, hey, can I put myself in the shoes of, the poor schlub that's got to be mixing this stuff up in the dark at 5 o'clock in the morning? And,
Right.
I take a bite of the apple and I, open up the Ronstar bag. Oh boy, now I got to throw away the apple and wash my hands. Damn
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Not
I'm
again.
gonna take one more bite though.
Yeah.
Just don't tell anybody.
Well, yeah. Just if you turn the apple
know.
around, if you go 180 degrees, you're fine. It's like the 5-second rule,
Right.
You've got your cigarette hanging on the lip of your tank.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I've
that's
seen
a
it
lot
all.
of material on the rim there.
That's what that yeah, that's why you do the Misty 100s, when you're mixing and loading because they're longer. You get a little bit more ash off of that.
Oh my
Um,
gosh! Oh dear.
So, all right, so
This mixed
on the
well?
product side, so there's
Yeah.
new products. So now when you hear and see new
Yes.
products, obviously you probably have within your book of business, you have those early adopters. Those people are like, yep, sign me up. Let's go try it.
Right.
Let's test it out. Let's do some check plots. Let's do, whatever.
Right.
Is that enough for you to buy in, or do you have to see it in, university trials? Like, how are you learning outside of just your customer base, and how are you learning? What are your sources of information where you're like, you know what, if I have a question on this, and I'm not saying you have to call people out. If you want to, you can, but what are those trusted
Right.
sources for you to be like, all right, I need to fact check this because, I don't want
Right.
to sell the next guy in Prellis, whatever.
Yeah.
Although I'd buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I
don't
was-
die.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
yeah.
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 Go ahead and cut me
I
that
think
check.
I've been very lucky along the way to have manufacturer wraps that have been really, really good.
Mhm.
I think the real issue is that the bulk of what's quote unquote new is just a reformulation of
Yep.
what's old.
Yeah.
So a
yeah.
lot of the products that we're selling these days, and I'm not saying they're not good. Some of those combos have made it easier on the applicator. They've become more affordable. They've increased the efficacy. Uh, really, if you think back, the only real game changer over the last 10 years, no offense, has been a Celeprint.
Yeah, diamides. Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's not a fungicide that I can, and we have non-growth regulating DMIs right now. I get it, but we've got an overwhelming amount of SDHIs, but
Hmm.
the old standbys are still there, chlorothalonil and azoxystrobin. But the real one that was the big game changer was that season-long cutworm control and the season-long grub control that we at least see out of a Celeprint here in the Midwest. But a lot of that stuff, as I said, is just kind of remix, reformulate, and I think that
So,
that
like,
also says a lot about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no. Yeah, you continue. I'm sorry.
I think that says also a lot about how much money it takes to get some of these new AIs to market. Uh,
Hmm.
and an interesting thing is one of the things I've talking to one of my guys the other day is that one of the things I think that's going to happen with this AI, artificial intelligence, it's going to help reduce that time frame to bring some of this new technology to market, because it can help reduce some of the redundancy on trying to get some things to come out.
Yeah, I want to
Uh,
say in 2018 it was like $8 million to bring an AI to TNO. So and I don't know, that's to get it to TNO. So to get it, your initial FDA or EPA up to that point before going for TNO, I don't even know what that is. So you're
Yeah, I
talking
mean,
about a
it's passed
monumental
through,
amount of cash.
and then and that's the thing now that we're seeing too is re-registering. So you talk about, we have chlorothalonil, no, we have some products, right, that are staples that are likely to go away.
Right.
Somewhat very, somewhat soon. So on that sense, what's that conversation like? And I don't mean like just from a sales aspect, but just from an educational aspect, right? When you go in and talk to folks that maybe are still like tried and true, man, you're gonna have to come pry this merit from my cold dead fingers. So how do you try and help those folks see the light? I'm just curious from your perspective, because I'm sure you've had a lot more of those conversations than we've had.
Yeah. It is interesting. Some of my most successful guys, in fact, the bulk of my successful guys, are not tinkerers. They have a
Yeah.
tried and true program, and maybe I was fortunate 10 years ago to sell them on a Celiprin. But if it came to a product not being used anymore, my guys would be open to the next best thing. But my successful superintendents, and I'm talking about guys that haven't lost a square foot of bent grass in St. Louis in my 15 years, those guys do not waver. They do not miss timing windows. They do not miss application windows, and they are fully aware of what they're doing and when to do it. And they're often very resistant to change because they've had tremendous success.
Fair.
Okay.
And it's hard
That
to go in there and challenge that. I get that.
Mhm.
What were you gonna say?
It
Ray?
is.
that is something that you're talking about me. You're talking about me. No, really. No,
Without a doubt.
Paul is.
You're not.
No, Paul's talking about me because I'm kind of an old timer in the turfgrass management world because
He's your age. Well,
Yeah. He's got diazinon and Dursban in the fallout shelter, just in case.
yeah,
Oops. Do
and
I?
still in the bloodstream.
And the 7 and the Turcam, to name a few. So, so here's the thing is that when somebody finds something that works reliably, I have to tell you, on my side, it can be really hard to change over to something else. On the other hand, I do have to admit that some of the older products weren't all that great and all that cracked up to be. So then at that point, I am open to new things that work better. I'm of that type where if something works, if I can see it works and it lives up to its promise, then I'm all about it. But then at the same time, products that are all hype and no performance become a very hard sell for me.
See, I am the vice versa. Like someone tells me a cool story about a product, and I'm like, I am signing a check today. I want it. I need to use it. I got to try it. I got to put it on something. Please, God, get it to me as quick as possible. I have to smell it, taste it, touch it, whatever. And I will say this in terms of like that actually being a career limiting thing in lawn care, without a doubt. The number of times that again, high risk, high reward, making an iffy judgment call on a product I don't have a lot of experience with, in the hopes that it's going to deliver as it was pitched to me. And then, you find yourself reseeding or, resodding a section of the lawn. That has happened more times than I care to admit. But, I'm definitely on the opposite end of things. Paul, you could call me tomorrow and be like, man, I got this shit. They deliver it to you in a refrigerator. You got to try it. And I'd be like,
if it has new and improved
fucking
on
refrigerator,
it,
I need this. Give it to me now.
God,
Yeah.
I would watch these guys and tell me that you had mentioned, you got people teeing off at 6:30 in the morning and you're actually getting product out of a freezer, a refrigerator. I mean, some of the stuff, I am the worst. I am the worst new product salesman in the history of new product sales. I'm just terrible.
So therefore, Paul, we will be friends then. We will be good friends then, actually, because basically,
I love it.
I'm going to be the guy that's going to be hitting you up for all of the old stuff, essentially.
Ray's got joints older than me, rolled up, ready to go. I'm telling
you. Ooh, except I don't do that.
Nick, I snort the chemicals. I don't
say
eat
when
the
you. I didn't listen.
Get it right.
Smoke them if you got them, but you don't have to. What? Okay, so on that same vein, like,
yes,
what turf truth? And I don't mean the Twitter account. What turf truth do you believe to be self-evident that you wish just everybody would accept? That maybe it's something that it's a competitor's selling angle that they go after something, and you're just like, man, that's just not true. And I'm not saying to dig on people, or it could just be some fact that you hear pushback on or you get objections to, that you just wish, man, if I could be the ruler of the turf kingdom for a day, everybody would just accept that this is true about whatever product, whatever cultural practice, whatever grass, I don't care what it is. But is there something that comes to mind where you're just like, when you hear it, it's just like nails in the chalkboard? Like, man, I wish people would just realize that this is the truth.
I got to be so careful here.
That's why I went. Listen, I softened you up for 56 minutes to get to this question.
You did.
No. Seriously, you be careful, because I understand that if this was off air, that the answer would probably be a lot more candid.
It might be another hour that we talk.
Yeah. That's the unrated episode. You'll have to go into the back room of the Blockbuster, to get that one. But no, seriously, what are the, because there's those things, and I know, because I hear my friends that are sales reps, they're just like, they'll call me and they'll be like, dude, I just had this sales call and you wouldn't effing believe what these people think is the truth. And it's like, and I'm even like, wait, that guy said that? And they're like, no, wait, it gets better. And then I'm like, really? And it evolves from there. So just pick one thing. We'll start there. It doesn't have to be the most important thing, but if you could pick one thing.
Liquid aeration.
If I say this, we gotta table it right after I say it, because I don't want to talk about
it. Understood.
Okay.
This is a safe space.
I could name. So in my territory, we the top 5 most successful men that run the most successful golf courses haven't sprayed an ounce of humic acid, and have never, and I mean ever, done a soil test. And they are money every year, every day of every year, dead on, no issues.
There it is.
Okay.
That's it.
Sorry, shelving it.
All I was going to say there is that, the one thing I always like to push back on those folks that, I need this, or this is the latest and greatest, is, listen, folks, there is exquisite world-class turf on 6 continents of this entire globe. And guess what? They all don't have access to the same products, right? Good agronomy.
Yep.
Good.
Take it from someone who has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars chasing shiny balls. NPK can
I say
accomplish
one more
a lot.
I think all I heard was that
hundreds of thousands of dollars I've spent.
Okay, I have to counter that because
Wait, hang on. Go ahead, Paul.
I think the beauty of what all of our people do, what you guys do, is there is not one brownie mix that's the same. It's
Oh yeah,
everybody's an
without a doubt.
artist. Everybody has their own concoctions. They have their own things that they've learned. And who am I? Who are we to shame them? Or, hey man, you do you. And if you're getting results, you know what? Keep it up. Roll
I
on.
have asshole after my name, and I struggle shutting up sometimes. That's what were you going to say,
Well-
Ray? In capital
right.
letters,
This-
bold too, probably italics.
Okay, Ryan said something very important, because where I'm at, I don't get or have all of the shiny new latest and
True.
greatest
Oh, yeah.
products. I don't. I really don't. And the reason why is because a lot of those wonderful products are literally prohibited from entry into this state.
That's why you need to
You
be
know-
in the
I
United
went-
States,
I
man.
went on a legitimate tear that I was convinced, fully convinced, that I could figure out how to grow centipede at the same color as Bermuda grass under 6 pounds of nitrogen from ammonium nitrate. I was convinced I could do it if I just had the right brown water. And I really went for it. So, it's
How'd that look the next year?
what centipede? What centipede?
Yeah, where?
Yeah, I'm still trying to find it.
Which
that one
centipede?
that went to
Where?
heaven. I think I'll be in purgatory longer than I probably won't make it out of purgatory before I get a chance to see that centipede again. That is
Call the Knox County coroner. I'd like to report a murder. All right, here's a better question to open up,
Okay.
more positive. I want
Yeah.
to end on a positive note. What is the most underutilized product that you think people are missing
boy.
out on?
And like a real consultant, you ask questions to me. It's amazing.
I get paid to do
I'll
it.
tell you what
I know.
has been a little bit of a game changer here is that Anderson's 440 HCU.
Okay.
It's if you can believe it, it's a humic coated urea.
Uh-huh.
Very affordable, goes into solution beautifully. And it's been a very affordable way for some of my lawn care guys, and also for some of my guys that when they do spray fairways, has been a really, really, that's been kind of a new product that I've seen that has been really, really, really great. And
It's
also,
fascinating
what's
you
a-
say that.
just-
Oh,
just-
go ahead. No,
yeah.
keep going. Ignore
I
me.
was just going to say, just real quick, if you want to highlight use rates and things that how would you, especially in lawn care, let's skew towards that here a little bit. How would you encourage guys to use that particular product?
yeah, you can put down, you could just tank mix there, just get a little Scotia, if you want a little Scotia nitrogen for green
You are
up.
Midwest.
That's right. You want to maybe help with some fertilizer efficacy.
Yep.
The next day, I guess I'm just most impressed with how affordable and how easily it goes into solution.
Mhm.
I mean, that's just something I actually forget what the question
It's an
was.
open-ended
That's a
question.
good
No, it's
one.
an open-ended
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
No,
And then I
that's good.
still would swear to you that all you really need, and again, I'm going to get crucified for this, but all I've ever seen is
Nobody watches this.
4 to 6 ounces of Gary's Green Ultra in any tank mix is, you know what, man, that's like a cigar and a bourbon. I mean, it is as good as it gets.
Oh,
The
Griggs.
thing
Yeah.
the thing I was going to say about with Griggs is that you talked about the different brownie recipe, like the recipe hasn't changed. If you look at the competitors and if you look at how
Yeah.
things have moved, whether your bottle is white, whether your bottle is orange, whatever. See, we don't have to say the words, Paul. They'll never know what we're talking about.
I got you.
But
I'm
you
learning.
know, that the let's just say some of the Betty Crocker
Harold's, wasn't
of the 90s and the early 2000s ain't what Betty Crocker is today. So and it's not as if turf has gone through the obesity epidemic. like Betty Crocker has. So therefore,
Right.
things have changed for a reason.
Yeah.
Can I say that about Betty? She lost weight.
Yeah.
Yes,
She
you
looks good now.
can.
She
Yes,
looks
you
great. She looks
can.
great.
Yes, you
She looks great.
can.
listening.
Yes, you
Oh.
can.
I lick her off the spoon every time I see her. So
Me both. That's why that guy called and told me I'm a lesbian. It was weird. How did you know?
So this is my last question, and I
Okay.
know we're trying to wrap it up here. Is
No,
okay.
we're going to talk
Shift-
about the fun stuff. Go ahead.
Shift over to lawn care.
Yeah.
For a guy that's starting out, because there's people that are established here, but let's talk to the guy who's starting out that doesn't have a rep, that is probably just going up to the counter at site one as like, hey man, what should I do? Where should I turn? What would your message be to him about finding the right rep? And maybe it's an independent, maybe it is, a guy who's selling $3 million a year for site one, whatever. But how would you encourage that person to vet a rep that they can trust, that they can build a relationship with, and how to get that process started?
Yeah, that's awesome. And my favorite lawn care guys that I deal with are the 3 to 5 pallet guys. For pre-emergent, they need 3 pallets. For a grub feed, they need 3 to 5 pallets. Guys that are starting their own business, and I've had a couple of young ones that I say, hey, just like I've said before, you can call me anytime, and we can talk about grass seed. We can talk about the different types of pre-emergent. I just think no matter if you're spending $5,000 a year with me or you're spending $150,000 a year with me, I'm going to treat you the exact same. And I'm going to answer the phone. Your question's important. Your customer's important to me. And I think it goes back to the same thing I said before, is that, that 5,000 that you're spending with me is just as important as the, like I said, the 150 that a country club's spending with me. So find a guy who treats you, what you're worth being treated for. So I think that's the key. And
yeah,
I mean,
it does require self-respect. So if you struggle with self-respect,
so
yeah,
so I think that's critical.
It's important. It is. Self-respect.
I could sit here and ask questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, know your self-worth. In other words,
I was going to say, I don't think very highly of myself a lot of the times, and so let me ask you. I'm going to put this out here. I'm plugged all of Paul's information in the chat, and please honor me this. If you decide to call Paul and do business with you, and again, a real G in the industry, if you're a lawn care guy in a 3 to 5 pallet space or larger, like you have nothing to lose, literally zero to lose. You will lose absolutely nothing by giving it a whirl, having a conversation, getting to know one another. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. No harm, no foul. But my point is that if you are a 3 to 5 pallet guy, and I understand that Mrs. Jones asked you to rip out a rose bush for $100, and you wasted 8.5 hours to do it, and you made $100 for 8.5 hours of work, do not call Paul and when you're drunk off Steel Reserve at the end of the day and need someone to tell you that you're good enough and you're smart enough and gosh darn it, people like you. Don't do that. It brings shame to us. Again, have a little self-respect if you're going to call him. He wants to treat you what you're worth. At least pretend like you're worth more than that.
And don't be shamed that you're just starting out, and that use your being naive, right, to accept less service because you don't think that you're worth it. So I think that everybody should have a sales rep like Paul. And just to his point, maybe you buy from him and one other guy, maybe you buy from him and 2 other guys, but slowly over time you will find the people that are your people, right? Just as in sales, that's the name of the game, is you have to find the people that align with you and your values and how you sell and how you serve and everything like that. And there's going to be people that are just like, nope. And it's the same thing with your clients. It's the same with your sales rep, right? So I always say, treat your reps like they're a customer. If you can do that, right, you're going to have a lot better relationship and a lot better off of, putting them in a bad spot. Like, hey man, Like, you're going to save my ass if you can go open up the branch for me and let me get in there at 4:30 so I can get this, spray out, or get this pallet of fertilizer because we're short, right?
Right.
Or, Jimmy got drunk, drove the work truck home, tipped it over the intersection. We spilled out 40 bags. I need 40 more bags for tomorrow. I'm sorry. Jimmy's really sorry. He'll apologize when he gets out of the tank. Sorry, Jimmy.
I'll tell you, something else I've done with my customers, especially the ones that I have a soft spot for, those that own their own businesses, in trying to compete, is I've been very open with my cost on product. And I've said, hey, listen, I'll show it to them right on my phone and be like, here's the deal. I respect that you're starting a small business, and I'm just going to show you, this is what I'm charging you. This is the margin I'm making, so you can compare it to the margin that you're making with your business. If you think that's fair, let's proceed. If I could help you a little bit on that, let's proceed as well. And where I may have to be like, I can't do that, but I can do this. And I really have found, especially those guys that are taking a risk, that are starting a business, that are working hard to be entrepreneurs, to be self-starters, I think it's nice to have a guy that's done it. And I think it's nice to have a guy that's willing to be open and transparent with cost, to not have this thought that, you're ganking people, you're fucking people over. And I have felt that has really helped me with some of the younger guys too. I'm like, hey, this is what I got into it. I want to see you be successful, because you never know when that 3 to 5 pallet guy is going to turn into a 30 to 40 to 50 pallet guy, right?
It's the old country club mindset, right? You yell at the kid who's dicking around on the green. That might be your boss someday, right? And you better recognize, right? So I love the mindset, and I love just, hearing a little bit about the journey and getting to know you more. I know we could sit here and jaw all night about all things. We didn't even really talk about grass. That's the sad part. We'll have to do that.
It's probably the best part.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, it really was.
We'll do a grass only episode with Paul here soon, and Paul will play guitar for us too, because Paul does
do that.
I know. I should have pre-rec that. But again, the amount of show prep we put into this is moments.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, he shows his customers costs. We pull back the curtain and be like, you know what? Listen, I just took a crap and came down here and we're recording the show. Like, that's that's the honest
screamed at my
truth.
son to finish brushing his teeth, quit distracting your sister, and y'all get in bed as I'm walking in the door. Right? Hi, Paul. Nice to meet you. Shut up.
Oh man.
Thanks for coming to hang out.
Go ahead.
Yes. No, I was just gonna. I always. I have 2 pieces of parenting advice. I have 3 children, and they're all grown and gone. One's 31, one is 26, and one is 23. And in hindsight, my biggest regret, and I advise 2 things. Number 1, force your child, force them to play an instrument.
Yeah. Number
2, force them to develop a life skill like golf, because those are 2 things you can do forever. That guitar single-handedly changed my life 14 years ago. Christy and I have surpassed over 1,000 gigs we've played over the last 13 years.
Wow.
Paid off my house. I've been flown around the United States playing that stupid guitar. And I would tell you right now, Christy is an absolute assassin. If she had a legitimate guitar player with her, there's no question she'd have been something. But anyway, I always like my hindsight parenting. Make that kid learn some life skills. I know everybody thinks their kid's going to be shortstop for the Yankees, but the odds are they're probably not going to.
Short. I don't know about shortstop. And one thing I do appreciate your Twitter too is that you show the healthy relationship between you and your wife, and I think it has been, especially in our age range. I'm 37, right? And there's going to be a lot of 30-year-olds that are watching this. Prioritize your marriage. Do not put that on the back burner, because when the kids are grown and gone, it's you two who have to look each other in the face And every day you should strive to be the best version of yourself for your spouse, and I promise they will do that in return. That's what love is all about, right? Again, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing your infinite wisdom. Everybody in the community, go show some love. At least follow him on Twitter. If you're 3 to 5 pallets or larger in the St. Louis area, please, God, call him and have a conversation. But do not call him to talk about the tears in your beers or whatever else. Seriously, next time when you do come on, you are going to have to play some music for us, because that's one of my favorite things to watch on your Twitter is you and your lady there belting it out. She has an angelic voice, and watching her with a cup of coffee in her hand and y'all hang out in the kitchen, that's one of those things that it's a real relationship, and all men here should look at that and admire that and seek that by any means necessary. Thank you so much, everybody at home. We love y'all. See y'all on the flip side.
Appreciate it.